Initially, I was resisting the urge to make any content dictated by coronavirus. It's a stressful time, and in many ways I think it can help to simply take our minds off everything with a bit of escapism. But a lot of people started requesting advice on how to train from home, and of course I do want to help out if I can. This is something I know a bit about too, and actually feel quite strongly about. The issue I see for a lot of people training with bodyweight is that they don't know how to increase the intensity sufficiently. To so many people, bodyweight training means 3 sets of 10 push-ups, but it could be a lot more than that. In fact, you can use it to tap into all kinds of crazy strength gains that aren't accessible in other ways, and this will lead to immediate growth in performance and mean that you come back stronger than ever. In this video then, I'm going to share these strategies so that you can use them to create a genuine challenge and trigger an adaptive response with your bodyweight training. I'll also be sharing a free PDF that includes a complete bodyweight routine, which will be available to download from the website. That'll be linked in the description down below. No need to give an email address or anything like that, just click and download. And as a side note, seeing as a lot of you are stuck at home and bored looking for something to read, my ebook Super Functional Training will also be on heavy discount for the next few weeks. You'll find that in the description below too. So the challenge we have is training in such a way as to mimic the intensity you would normally accomplish with a much heavier weight. The first tool that I want to share is using high volume training. That means training using extremely high reps of movements. Perhaps you're doing 3 sets of 100 push-ups, or maybe you're doing 5 sets of 20 pull-ups. Of course, because you're only using very light weight, your upper body in many cases, this won't cause a lot of muscle damage, require the recruitment of the larger twitch muscle fibers, or even create high levels of mechanical tension. In other words, you won't trigger quite the signals necessary for large growth or strength gains. But the key here is that we're not only going to be training for a high total volume, we're also going to be aiming for a high level of continuous time under tension. That means we'll be aiming to perform extremely high rep ranges without ever letting the muscles completely rest. This is the method that has long been used by bodybuilders, but is somewhat contested and debated among researchers. Turns out it has a lot of merit though. Here's what extremely high rep bodyweight training does for you. Firstly, aiming for those extremely high rep ranges will allow you to improve your work capacity. That's something you might have been neglecting in the gym, and it means that in future your strength won't be limited by your endurance. Secondly, continuous time under tension creates a natural form of occlusion. That means that blood travels to the muscle and then stays there, encouraging the buildup of more metabolites that signal more growth via metabolic stress. Part of the reason we experience muscle fatigue in the first place is that the buildup of metabolites interferes with the release of calcium necessary for contraction. Thus, if you go to failure, you're maximising that metabolic buildup. This then stimulates growth. This is why bodybuilders use a similar strategy to create non-contractile hypertrophy. And it works. I've seen countless people I've helped train gain massive growth in their chest simply by doing high rep push-ups. At the same time, this kind of training can actually create new capillaries. That means you'll be creating more tiny blood vessels directing blood to the muscle. This can have huge benefits, as it means the muscles will be better served by hormones and nutrients in future, allowing for improved recovery and growth. An article by Christian Thibodeau on T Nation recently discussed the merits of performing 100 rep leg presses for this very purpose. He recommended doing this daily. He explained how this helped many figure athletes with stubborn legs to see sudden and impressive growth. In the same article, he also explained how golden era bodybuilders like Tom Platz used a very similar method. Not only did this build insane size in Platz's case, but also crazy strength endurance. He was eventually able to perform multiple sets of 100 reps on the squats with 225 pounds. Finally, there's another reason that super high rep bodyweight training to failure is beneficial. It might build strength by increasing motor unit recruitment. When we attempt to contract a muscle against resistance or otherwise, we do so by sending a nerve impulse from our brain across the neuromuscular junction and into the muscle. The strength of the signal, partly determined by the firing rate, will then determine how many of the motor units are called into action. Motor units are bundles of muscle fibre within the muscle. The more that work together, the stronger the contraction. But the bigger and the stronger the motor units, the stronger the signal that is required to push them past their excitation thresholds and call them into action. So if you only use light effort, then you will only use a small percentage of the slower twitch muscle fibres to perform that movement. But as the challenge ramps up, you try harder and the bigger, more explosive motor units get involved. This is called Henneman's size principle. Training at 80% of your 1 rep max and above therefore builds more strength by actually challenging the most powerful components of the muscle and by increasing your ability to access your muscle's full strength. The amount of weight moved during a press-up is unlikely to challenge you enough to require those large twitch muscle fibres. But guess what? Once you reach the end of a super long set of push-ups, you'll find that the smaller motor units that you've been using, primarily consisting of slow twitch muscle fibre, begin to fatigue and drop out. This is why you start shaking. Now you can give up, or you can keep pushing through. When you do that, your nervous system has no choice but to recruit the larger, more explosive motor units to continue the set. After all, that's all that's left. This can now create many of the conditions necessary for strength gains, along with developing a stronger mind-muscle connection. The key is to go to the point of isometric failure. That means that you can no longer complete a full set or even hold yourself at the toughest point in the movement without slowly dropping. Ideally, you'll also eventually isolate as few muscles as possible, meaning that you're targeting specific areas, and that it's the fatigue in those areas that's preventing you from completing the movement, rather than just losing the collective strength necessary across your body. At this point, you're now trying to lift a weight you can no longer lift. The humble push-up has become an overcoming isometric movement, a tool that was used by the likes of Bruce Lee and old-time strongmen to build crazy strength. How do you get to that point? Well, you achieve this by doing really high reps to an extent. We can go further with the mechanical drop set. Go to failure on your push-ups, but then rather than stopping, continue performing more push-ups, now on your knees. Your core is now being challenged far less, your legs aren't involved anymore, but your pecs, shoulders and triceps are still being challenged with a slightly lighter weight, allowing you to continue pushing past failure. You can then end with an isometric hold, or even burns. These are reps with bare minimum rep ranges that you're still capable of achieving. So could you build muscle strength and size using a program simply consisting of push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups and air squats to failure? Well yeah, but that would not be optimal still. There are still some limitations to training purely this way. The first is that performing hundreds of air squats every day for weeks on end could eventually get tough on the knees. It shouldn't in theory, your knees should be up to the challenge, but there are more factors that make this likely. That's why it's a good idea to vary the precise movements between workouts in order to keep challenging the body in new ways and provide the connective tissue with some chance to recover. Take it slow to begin with, as you should do with any new training program, and listen to your body. Take a break from specific movements if you notice any discomfort that is not simply delayed onset muscle soreness. This is an intense way of training in general, so it's important that you leave enough time to recover between workouts as well. At the same time, introducing a greater variety of movements will help you to improve aspects of your strength that are often overlooked. Calisthenics has many complex and challenging movements that challenge the body in 3 dimensions and that work smaller supporting muscle groups that go overlooked. This is an ideal time to work in the frontal plane and the transverse plane, for instance. Likewise, you can train for skills like the planche or the handstand that work your straight arm strength and your core. The problem is that relying on this type of training alone won't allow you to benefit from the muscle fatigue and fibre recruitment I discussed earlier. This is why many pure calisthenics skills athletes don't have huge muscular bodies. This trains your intermuscular coordination and recruitment rather than intramuscular. What we can do here is to either combine these strategies with the mechanical drop set, which will also significantly lower the amount of time taken to reach failure, or use them at the start of a workout, structuring it like a reverse pyramid. For example, you might start a push workout by performing one-armed push-ups and pseudo-planche push-ups, then move on to the super high rep push-ups. Alternatively, if you want to use a mechanical drop set, you might perform as many dips as you can, only to then drop to the ground to continue with regular push-ups immediately, taking no break in between and treating this as one long set. You'll reach that point of isometric failure much quicker. There's one thing that's still missing from this program though: explosive starting strength. Using plyometrics, our program will also give us the ability to engage the fast twitch muscle fibre where going to failure might not. Clapping push-ups, jump squats and explosive pull-ups will all help to add an explosive component to this training and should go at the very start of the workouts, or straight after whatever the more complex calisthenics skills are. Another option is to use something I've developed myself and have recently been experimenting with: Bodyweight isometrics. Here you put yourself in a position where you can't perform any reps, lying on the ground with your arms wide apart for instance, and then attempting to push yourself up anyways. This example looks and feels like you're trying to fly the earth, so I call it the Earth Crusher. Thanks to commenter Roland Rush for suggesting that name. As far as the neurological effect is concerned, this is like trying to bench press 110% of your 1 rep max. Perform this ballistically and then hold the contraction for 6 seconds. I won't be incorporating this into the program as it's experimental at the moment, but stay tuned for more on this. To finish up, we're going to use a yielding isometric. That means moving extremely slowly through the movement, taking a minute to complete a push-up for example. This is another highly effective way to improve your mind-muscle connection as you exert just the amount of force you need and as you listen to the feedback from the muscles at each point in the movement. This will also help you to develop strength at the weakest point in your range of motion, as you won't be able to rely on momentum to carry you through. It's a perfect cooldown method as well as an opportunity to practice some moving meditation if that's your jam. Combine high rep push-ups and really slow push-ups like this, and when you come back to the bench press in a matter of weeks or months, you'll find you have not only more explosive strength, not only more muscle endurance, but also greater stability and control. This one will be included in the program, but you can also check out my video on yielding isometrics for more on how it works. So I hope you guys found that useful. Let me know if you have any comments or questions, and likewise feel free to share your favourite home workouts in the comments section for others to check out. If you did enjoy this video, then please like it and share it around, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff really helps me out. Staying indoors sucks, but if it means sparing even one at-risk person from the virus, then it's more than worth it. And as you can see, there's no reason we can't keep making amazing gains nevertheless. I'm also taking this as the perfect opportunity to work on some other neglected aspects of my self-development, and I'm sure I'll be sharing more of that with you as the weeks go by. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and most of all, keep punching. Thanks a ton for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.